I, 21, graduated from university with my undergrad in 2024. At the time of graduating, I thought that I had around 10K of federal student loans. Recently, my mom left my emotionally abusive father, leaving just her, me, and my sibling by ourselves. I was happy at this decision until I found out that the 10K of debt I thought I was in was actually far more than that. I knew that throughout my first year of university, he had taken out some private student loans for me. I was told by my father that since I was only 18 at the time, the bank we loaned from wouldn't allow me to pull out loans since I didn't have good credit. He told me that he would be able to take out these student loans under my mother's name and that he'd pay them off as soon as I'm done with school. I found out recently that the loans were in fact under my name with my mom just as a cosigner. Also that the loans were far more than was needed to pay for my tuition. She did not know this either, by the way. He had taken out a total of 48K in private student loans under my name. I remember signing for these. He did not forge my signature. When I asked exactly what I was signing for or more details about everything, he told me, "Stop asking questions and just trust me." Every time I tried to push for answers, I got that response. I trusted him. I trusted that he would not screw me over. I had trusted him to help build my credit when I turned 18. I found out now that he's completely messed up my credit too. My TransUnion score is 669 and my Equifax score is 577. He used my tuition money for rent and bills. I do not know what he used the money he got from my credit cards for. Throughout the past few years, he had convinced us that he was making a lot of money from his job. I now realize that he was likely lying about that and just secretly screwing me over. And my mom too, since he's also messed up her credit. I have 3 closed credit cards that are in debt, I think. One is $6,055 balance, $2,250 credit limit, with $6,055 due. The second is $12,864 reported balance, $1,000 credit limit, with $0 due. Does this second one mean that I don't have to pay off the balance? The third one is $6,228 balance, $6,000 credit limit, with $714 due. From what I have looked up, it seems like I owe a little over $35,000 in credit card debt. I also know that he's messed up my siblings' credit too. I'm not sure by how much. I haven't had the chance to look into that. Also, I think it's important to note that he currently owes 3 different family members over $200K. I found this out this week too. Flash forward to now. I found out about these loans a few days ago. I now have a total of $58K in student loan debt in addition to my credit debt. My first student loan payment is due in less than 3 weeks. I need advice. I don't want to take legal action against him. I don't want him to end up in jail. He is currently helping us by paying for our rent and car even though my mom has left him. My mom doesn't currently have a job, though she is looking, and my job doesn't make nearly enough to provide for ourselves without his help. In August, I will start a higher paying job and possibly pick up a second job to pay off my debt. So I could ask him to just send me money every month instead of paying for rent and the car. I could use that money to help pay off the debt. As of right now, I am not worried about my federal student loans. The minimum payment is doable and I will receive around $14K of tuition reimbursement in March-April, so that will help. Should I consolidate the private loans? Should I refinance? I've briefly considered filing for bankruptcy, since I have no assets, but I know that's probably a bad idea. Is there a way for me to not have to deal with this debt without landing him in a lot of trouble? Relevant comments. Did OP know what they signed? OP. It was an electronic signature for the loan where you use the mouse to draw out your signature. He called me over to sign it on his laptop. At the time, I still thought that the money would be under my mother's name. I also did not know how much money it would be. Commenter 1. I don't want to take legal action against him. Okay, then you're going to have to pay the loans or declare bankruptcy. Commenter 2. I don't want to take legal action against him. I don't want him to end up in jail. You need to get past this, because he doesn't care what he does to you, and he isn't only hurting you. He is hurting and taking advantage of a lot of people, and is actively ruining your futures to benefit himself. He is currently helping us by paying for our rent and car even though my mom has left him. He isn't helping you. He is providing just enough to hope you don't take action against him. And the money is money he owes you, not that he is using to support you out of care for you and your family. He is not helping. He is using money he took from you and others to pay for that. You are paying for that help in the form of increasing debt, not him. And if he doesn't face serious repercussions for his actions, He is going to keep doing it, and you will never get out of the increasing debt he'll continue to saddle you and everyone else with. At the very least, you need to make sure you and your siblings' credit is locked down now to prevent him from taking out new cards and loans under your names. But you really need to just report him to the police so you can remove that debt. Why are you so worried about ruining his life when he isn't worried about ruining the lives of you, your siblings, and everyone else he has taken advantage of? If anyone ruins his life, it will be him by his own actions. Update 1. After reading all these responses and talking with some close friends of mine, I see that the best thing to do is file against him. I brought up the topic to my mother last night, and she, being very religious, said, "No, don't do that. God wouldn't want you to harm another person like this, let alone your own father." She said that she'd rather take on the private student loan debt by refinancing and transferring it to her, but honestly, that wouldn't remove the credit card debt, and it'd leave her with the debt instead. I don't think that's a good choice. I think that if I file against my dad, my mother will kick me out, so if I file, I will already be prepared to move out. That being said, I currently only have $2,000 saved up from work, and that will not be enough to move out on my own. I need more money to get a car, place, and overall survive. I just moved to the city in less than a year ago, so I don't have many people to rely on here. My boyfriend offered to let me live at his family's house, but I'd still need to be able to travel to and from work, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. I also don't have the option to move because I have to work in the state of Florida to qualify for my university's tuition reimbursement. In March, I have over $14,000 of tuition reimbursement coming in. My best bet would be to wait till March and then leave. It breaks my heart to do this because I could be disowned by every person in my family, but I can't let myself live with this debt. Prior to this, I thought I only had $10,000 worth of debt, and with that, I could have easily lived a good life and paid it off quickly. I'm still not 100% set on this decision, but I do realize that it is the logical thing to do. I want to speak with my sibling to see how much debt my father put them in, and to see if they'd want to file too. I also want to speak with a lawyer or someone more knowledgeable than me about this. Does anyone have any advice based on this update? Update number 2 in response to the comments I've gotten. My mom's religious comments are obviously ridiculous, but I'm mostly looking for help with how to file or what to expect. I have records showing $23,000 of refunds went to a bank account he controlled. I didn't see a dime of that money, and I think he used it to pay for a vacation and GL. Relevant comments. Is it possible for OP to find a new place or rent near their job? OP, I'm a substitute teacher. I work at different schools around the county, so it wouldn't be possible for me to get a job near work, unfortunately. Double frowny face. How did OP's father get involved on OOP signing the documents with their mother? OP, all I did was sign. He filled out everything. Now, I understand looking back that I was stupid for signing without asking. But after some further looking into things, I see that the amount of money I was refunded by my school was an insane amount and not an amount I could have spent by myself in one semester, aka $12,000 extra refunded in a semester where my tuition was only $2,000. He must have used that money himself on non-education related things. Also, the credit cards I did not sign for. I didn't even know that you signed for credit cards. He did that all himself. Commenter 1. It sounds to me like both your mom and your dad are in this together, and that if you don't file against them, they will come out ahead and you will come out behind. Commenter 2. God didn't want your mom to leave your dad either, but she did. So, she doesn't have a leg to stand on when he's preaching to you. Report him to anyone you can. Also, if you were under 18 years old, you can't be held responsible for any contracts. Story 2. My husband insults our baby. I'm a mom of a lovely 6-month-old baby boy and am currently on maternity leave. So, I'm the primary carer for him. I also still breastfeed. That being said, I'm a human also and sometimes need to go out without the LO. My outings never last more than 3 hours and are never in the evening. Yes, I'm an adult and I haven't been out and about past 6 p.m. by myself in more than 6 months. But it's fine, I don't mind. My only request was for my husband to look after the baby twice a week so I could work out. Before baby, I used to work out 4 times a week. It's a part of me. It's important to me. So I would keep my sanity. So, point is, I need this 2 workouts a week now. The gym is within walking distance, so I'm gone for a total of an hour and a half. My baby is very sweet. He didn't have colic, he likes company, and is a jolly fella. He is, however, attached to me and needs my boobs a lot. So, sometimes when I'm gone, he would miss me and he would cry. My husband tries to calm him down, but isn't always successful. Or it takes more time for him to calm baby down. What worries me is that after such an episode, when I come home, he says, in front of the baby, "He was very stupid while you were gone. He's ruining my life. You're very annoying when you cry like that. He's an idiot," etc. The way he speaks to the baby worries me very much. I don't think it's normal, although I get how hard a crying baby can be. Anyone in a similar boat? Thanks. Edit. Wow. Thank you everyone for your comments and suggestions. Thanks to other dads chipping in. You helped me with a POV that was hard for me to comprehend. We spoke with husband again, but this time I was able to keep my cool and explain calmly what is wrong, why, and offer strategies for him to overcome frustration. I think I managed that because of your support here. Because when we've had those conversations before, I would always get emotional and he wouldn't take it seriously. As a result of our conversation, we're getting earplugs for him, and he said he'll try more the baby carrier, and as a last resort, leaving baby in his crib and going out of the room to cool off for 10 minutes. As for myself, I decided to leave him tend to LO more while I'm at home and will observe the situation for the months to come. If there's improvement, great. I plan to emphasize that and congratulate husband every time he's doing something nice with /4baby and call him out when he speaks disrespectfully, hoping the latter will subside and disappear. If there's no improvement though, I have to pack my shit and my baby and leave even though I love my husband still. It's also a big turn off for me when he's insulting the child. Will stop working out as now I feel incredibly guilty for going out in the first place. Thank you to everyone. Relevant comments. Your needs are perfectly reasonable. His behavior, however, is really wrong. Just a thought on the context. Before leaving, do you explain to your baby with dad next to you that you'll be away for a short while and he'll be in the good care of daddy? How does your soul feel in general about parenting? Does it seem like he's got it figured out, or is he overwhelmed / resentful / disappointed with himself? I'm asking this because I doubt that the problem is the fact of you taking a short break for your workouts. I think he might have not built up the right mindset for what parenting entails and how he can become his best self as a father. I talk to my boy and tell him where I'm going before leaving, yes. Sometimes he's happy to be just with his dad, but not always. As for my husband, he did want a child and was very happy when we were told it's a boy, but he was overwhelmed. He said he misses our life before. He didn't think a baby would require so much care and attention. I did try to explain it though, but I guess he needed to see for himself. He also said that he feels inadequate when I can calm him in 2 minutes, but it takes him way longer. We've talked about this a lot. I always give him suggestions what to try if I'm not around, but he still loses it and would say these hurtful things towards the baby. That's definitely not normal, and I would talk to him about it now and help him see how serious it is. Even though your baby can't understand what the words mean right now, he can still feel unsafe and unloved by him because of his tone and reactions. Additionally, soon he actually will start understanding what his dad is saying to him, and it's going to have lasting impacts on his self-esteem, confidence, etc. Therapy never hurts, too. My husband refuses therapy. Otherwise, I've talked to him numerous times about the abusive language, etc. He says he understands, and he'll try. He does for a while. And then an episode like this happens, uneasy face. His behavior is out of order, but can your husband give him expressed milk or formula while you're gone? Or does he have to cope with a hungry baby for over an hour? We have a freezer stash and I always pump before leaving. Should have mentioned that. So, not a hungry baby. Yeah, that's not okay. Babies can respond to facial expressions, tones, and eventually pick up on what's being said is unkind. Does hubby have PPD? Need he be reminded your child is a baby and crying is the only way they have to indicate needs or that something isn't right? Sad face. I suspect he does have PPD. It is getting better, but eventually a situation like this happens and it breaks my heart. I cannot tell you how many times I tried to explain exactly that. He's a baby. He has lots of needs. His primary form of communication is crying, especially if those needs aren't met. He says he understands, but I just lose it when he starts crying. Sad face. Definitely sounds like PPD, and that's rough. I remember having the baby blues for a couple weeks, and I would feel so rage-why when my baby wouldn't stop crying. Maybe make a plan for him when baby starts crying, have like a basic plan for what to do. Check diaper, give a bottle, try a pacey. If none of that works, set baby down for a few minutes, breathe, and try again. I know a stressed out parent, and also continue to keep a babe stressed too. This is hard. Sorry you're going through this, mama. Thank you. Red Heart. I'm not saying his language is okay, but try pointing out when he's sweet, over-exaggerate your sweetness. Try pumping up his confidence and influence him in a positive way. Obviously, if that doesn't help and it continues, you might need to take more dire steps, but it's worth a shot. People are defensive by nature. Did you notice this type of behavior out of him before baby W other people in his life, or yourself? No, that's the thing. He's very nice and gentle towards me. Before baby, he interacted very well with kids of friends and family members. Better than me, much better. That's why I'm really surprised faced with raised eyebrow. I think you can use that then by pointing out all the good qualities he has. Sounds like he is overwhelmed. He definitely is overwhelmed, yes. Apart from these episodes, he helps me give baby medication. He gives him a bath, helps me feed him solids, changes his diaper. They play together with cubes and balls, and he's very satisfied with himself when he makes LO laugh. That's why I'm hoping with a few changes and conversations we can overcome this. I'm concerned that if you don't deal with this immediately, your jolly little guy won't be so jolly. This is absolutely verbal abuse, and your son will hear those words echoing in his head for the rest of his life if it continues. How would your husband feel if someone called you stupid or an idiot? Would he defend you? Would he agree? Does he speak to you like that? No, he doesn't. He's respectful and nice to me. I can see he loves me. I just wish he could bond with his son better. They do have their moments, and sometimes spend time together nicely. That's what gives me hope, and I haven't contacted a divorce lawyer yet. Honestly, I'm afraid it will be as you say. He will insult our son, and my boy will always remember this. Which is why AI contemplated leaving. To protect my boy. He sounds defective. I expect most of us got frustrated at times with our 6MO. Frustration is a daily experience, even for those without kids. But if someone can't help but lash out when they're frustrated, they are not ready to be a parent or to even be in a relationship. Has he historically done similar when he is frustrated with you? Is lashing out at others his normal reaction to not being able to do something? Plenty of toxic people do that rather than accept trivial failures. Then again, you having to request he watch the kid twice a week seems a clear sign he isn't ready to be a parent. That being said, the frustration can be decreased if he regularly parents. What kind of relationship does he have with the kid when you are there? Has he always changed diapers, bottle fed, put the kid to sleep, and held the kid while you were there? He isn't lashing out at me at all, never has. When we're all together, he does change baby's diaper, gives him a bath, puts him to sleep sometimes, holds him while I cook. They can also play together quite nicely. The behavior I'm describing is not a daily occurrence. But it does happen, and I want to try and help him change it. Hey everyone, I feel confident I can write an update to the post I wrote several months ago. Basically, I have really good news, and I owe that to some of the advice I got in my original post. Thank you. You're such an empathetic and helpful community. Now LO is 10.5 months, and I can finally say hubby and baby have bonded and have a good time together. I think the unexpected quarantine helped because my husband has been working from home since March, thus spending more time with both of us, which helped him get to know his son better and develop a relationship with him of his own. Now that we're at the separation anxiety stage, LO has stated crying not only for me, but also when hubby leaves the room. So in a way, I think that's a good sign. Basically, my husband managed to change his behavior a lot. Hasn't insulted him. He would still complain sometimes though, but now he does it primarily in the evening, after we put LO to sleep. Here's what helped. I pushed myself to involve him more with daily baby tasks and was doing my best to model what behavior we should do as parents. That way, since he still didn't have much of a relationship with baby, he had to copy me, and my coping mechanisms certainly didn't involve calling the baby names. If LO were to cry while with hubby, I tried not to rush immediately, but to let husband figure it out at least for 5 minutes before rushing in. Once he started being somewhat successful at calming our baby down, husband gained more confidence. Granted, he asked me about every little thing. When should I change his diaper? When I should put him down for a nap? How do I know if he's finished eating? But I think that helps since now he can read LO's cues much better than before. Earplugs. A lot of you suggested that, and we got some for him, and indeed getting the volume of a crying baby down helped my husband to remain patient with our son. So, I would get back from the store and find husband cuddling and rocking our baby with the earplugs in while LO was crying. Not ideal, but I suppose it's better to cry in the arms of your dad than alone in the crib. Talking and explaining to husband in a calm and matter-of-fact tone why what he does is wrong and what he can do differently. This was huge, actually. Before, I would get really emotional and notice that as soon as I lost control, husband stopped listening to me. As soon as I was able to get a hold of myself and have a matter-of-fact conversation with him, he was willing to hear me out, take me seriously, and implement some changes. Now that LO is mobile, laughing, babbling, and playing games with us, it's super fun, and I could tell my husband enjoys this stage more than any other before. They have their own little games, and if baby hurts himself while crawling, for example, I can overhear hubby saying something like, "Oh, did you fall, sweetie?" It's okay. You're going too fast, and honestly, that's so good to hear. He also kisses and hugs Elo a lot more than before. It makes my heart smile when my husband is a good father to our son. So, to all of the people saying my husband is a piece of shit, I guess you were wrong. He was going through depression and was feeling inadequate, plus was mourning our life pre-baby. After he gained some knowledge, confidence and perspective, his parenting skills improved immensely. I hope it will only get better from now on, you guys. You are a great support. Thank you. Edit. Change PPD to simply depression for clarity. Relevant comments. This comment has been downvoted. I'm sorry, but truthfully, I need someone to explain how on earth a man can struggle with PPD. That does stand for postpartum depression, right? Yep. Maybe the term is wrong. Not sure about honestly. But in our case, he truly mourned the life pre-baby. He said he didn't expect it to be that hard. And for the first 4 months, post-baby has said repeatedly nothing brings him joy, which sounded pretty much like depression. I'm shrugging over here. Sorry if the PPD thing was incorrectly mentioned. I'm glad it worked out, and happy you worked to help him go through it rather than shaming him. He is lucky to have you. Just curious, why do you write LO? LO as an abbreviation for little one. Smiley face. Just to specifically call out number 2, earplugs. They helped me immensely with both of my girls. I had a visceral reaction to their loud screams, especially when I couldn't calm them immediately, and my default reaction was anger. Dropping the decibel level kept me much calmer, and in return made me a more patient father. I kind of rationalized it as, you don't run a chainsaw without ear protection, so why would it be the default to let a baby scream in your ear from inches away without ear protection? Thanks to you and everyone who admit that a screaming baby is a trigger. I now realize it also is for me as well, but for anxiety and panic, not anger. If I wasn't breastfeeding, I'd resort to earplugs too. Great job to you and your husband. I like to remember a line I read. Be careful how you speak to your child. It will become their inner voice. I can only imagine his inner voice is being kinder as well. Smiley face. This is absolutely true. My father is abusive and my inner voice often puts me down. To this day, and I'm almost 30. Sad face. I was actually pretty scared 4 months ago. But I realized that abusive people don't really change their behavior, don't take responsibility for their actions, and always turn things around on you. None of this happened with husband. I think he really was depressed and needed help. But if I notice a change for the worse again, I don't think I'll try to be patient anymore. This comment was downvoted. Have you ever thought that maybe he didn't want to have children, and this is his way of venting? I'm not saying it's right by any means, but I was wondering the same, but he seems so into this. I was recovering from hypothalamic amenorrhea, and getting pregnant was difficult for us, actually. He was very supportive and went through all the necessary tests, to make sure he's reproductively healthy. He was super present in my pregnancy and was my birth partner. I certainly didn't expect what happened. Story 3. My 27 female best friend, 26 female, turns out to be crazy and is ruining my wedding. Some background info about this girl. Let's call her Jess. At this point in her life, she's kind of a hot mess. She's one of those people who wears everything on Facebook, who has a new love of my life every month and a new best friend every few months. Her relationships and friendships usually end terribly, with both sides hating each other. How did I become being her best friend? Well, she hasn't always been this way. She was relatively normal 5 years ago when I met her, save for the normal, early 20s drama. But in the last 2 years, she's lost her mom to cancer and her grandpa to old age, and she doesn't have any other family. She dropped out of school and found out her boyfriend at the time was cheating on her. After the breakup, I was acting like a shoulder to cry on since she had pretty much hit rock bottom. A few months later, she was telling everyone how close we were and started tagging me as her best friend. A few months ago, I got engaged. Unbeknownst to me, she started telling everyone she was my maid of honor, even though I've always planned on making my sister my maid of honor. But this was right after Jess' mom had died, so I just improvised and said I would have 2 maid of honors. It's still not what I would have liked, but I literally couldn't bring myself to tell this poor girl I don't consider her my best friend. That was my first mistake. About a month after I got engaged, she met a guy. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. A week later, she was married. A month later, she was divorced, separated. I don't know if it's legal yet. I don't know if anything was legal, but she changed her last name and is still going by that, so I'm guessing it was legal. Ever since the divorce, my own wedding planning has become unbearable. She is constantly telling me how marriage doesn't work, love can't save things, etc., etc., and criticizes how much I'm spending on my wedding when she had hers for a few hundred Vegas wedding. It's gotten to the point where she's rude to the vendors I'm meeting with, but she gets really upset when I don't take her to meetings since she's the maid of honor. So I'm at the point where I just want to cut her out of the wedding, like I should have done in the first place. However, when I confessed this to a mutual friend, my friend let me know to be careful because Jess can be really vindictive. When she found out her ex from a few years ago was getting married, she tried to contact the bride and tell her he was cheating on her. He wasn't. One of her last besties was fired from her job because Jess made multiple email accounts and regularly contacted customer service complaining about her. And since she knows so much info about my wedding already, I'm really terrified that she'll somehow try to sabotage it. So basically, I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like this wedding is getting away from me, but I also don't know if it'd be less painful to keep her a part of it because it would save me all the drama. I don't know what she's capable of, so I'm really worried that she'll somehow make everything harder for me if I don't just grin and bear it. Help. TLDR. Girl I've been comforting through traumatic times turns out to be batshit crazy, and now I think she's going to ruin my wedding if I don't go with the flow. Relevant comments. Commenter. To add, it might be a good idea to have passwords with your vendors to confirm your identity. Oh, thank you for the advice. I was actually considering the passwords thing, but I don't know if that's taking things too far. I guess I'm kind of worried about vendors resenting me for being high maintenance. But I hear about bridezillas/momzillas/in-lawzillas all the time, so hopefully this isn't the worst they've seen. Commenter. Jesus, just tell her. Jess, you knew him for 3 weeks before you married him. What in the ever-loving fuck did you think was going to happen? If I've only been seeing a girl for 3 weeks, I won't even poop with her in a half-mile radius. Oh, seriously, the week before the wedding was everyone kindly saying, you sure? You've known him an awfully short time. And her responding, everyone's jealous because they can't be us. Yeah. Comment. Sounds like you need to have a very uncomfortable talk with this girl. Tell her what you told us here, and let her know her negative attitude has no place in planning your wedding. You're sorry things aren't working out for her, but she is not allowed to pile this stuff on you. Tell her that you cannot have her as a maid of honor, and since she seems to think so negatively about marriage, you wouldn't expect her to do this. Up to you if you even let her attend the wedding as a guest. Oh my God, I haven't even thought about explaining how her negative attitude towards marriage could be the excuse for not having her in the wedding party. That sounds ridiculously logical, but I've been blinded by a flurry of crazy. Thank you. Update 3 months later. Guys, this went full-blown crazy. Before I could have a conversation with Jess, she confronted me about it. Apparently, the mutual I confided in let the whole story leak, and a twisted, more dramatic version made its way back to Jess. Shit, meet fan. It was an hour or two of me trying to explain to Jess in a somewhat calm manner that I felt she had overstepped her boundaries, and it was really taking a mental toll on me while she yelled about what a terrible friend I was, and how she's tired of putting all of her faith in the wrong people, and how she was tired of trying her best to be a good maid of honor. I made the mistake of pointing out that I had never asked her to be my maid of honor in the first place, and she responded with, well then, I must be delusional. The first step is admitting you have a problem, so, progress. Needless to say, we aren't on speaking terms. Shortly after that, I took all of your advice and called all of my wedding vendors and let them know that my fiancé and I were going to be the only people making any decisions, and set up a confirmation word with them. Apparently, this shit happens a lot because nobody even asked why. I accidentally forgot to contact the bakery making our cake, but luckily they called me and asked if I was certain I wanted to cancel the wedding cake. Apparently, there was a voicemail left on their machine. Wonder how that happened. Here's where things get really nuts. A few weeks after our blow-up, she apparently met some guy who is the love of her life. A few weeks after that, they're engaged. I can't make this shit up. She did it again. Then, our mutual friends had invitations for her wedding, which is the same date as mine. But since they had RSVP'd for my wedding, a lot of them couldn't make it. A few days before her wedding, they have to cancel because he's already married. And you know what? So is she. I guess she never got officially divorced from that first quickie wedding. So as far as I know, no wedding actually happened. I have no idea if they still plan to. I'm just glad to be away from that circus. But anyways, I got married a few weeks ago. Everything was wonderful. The weather was great, and everyone present was a joy to be around. Except maybe my uncle who gets a little too dance-y when he's drunk, but you know, family. Thank you to everyone who responded, and to everyone letting me know I'm not helping matters by going with the flow. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends by running from crazy and not comforting it. Relevant comments. Commenter. Anyone else think the mutual friend is kind of shitty? She was the one who told OP to be careful about Jess, yet she decided it would be a good idea to blab about what OP told her, knowing full well it would get back to Jess. Now, instead of telling Jess on her own, terms OP got ambushed instead. Oh, I actually asked her about it a few days after the blow-up. Her defense was that she didn't actually tell Jess. She told another mutual friend of ours, who told someone else, who told someone else, who told Jess, so technically it wasn't her fault. Which is how, by the time it got to Jess, the story was somewhere along the lines of OMG. Bubbles, one is telling everyone you're ruining her life and sabotaging the wedding. All of us met at work. We all worked at the same restaurant long ago, and it was always a drama-filled place. A lot of the same people still work there and still thrive off of the drama. I'm thinking it's time for me to move on from that specific crowd. Cliques are fun in middle school. In your 20s, not so much. Commenter. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends by running from crazy and not comforting it. I'd like to nominate the first candidate for your new policy, the mutual friend who somehow let the story leak and repeated to Jess a twisted, more dramatic version of what you had confided in her. Oh, I've decided to distance myself from that crowd. We're in different points in our lives, and I just don't find the gossiping all that fun. My real besties from high school who were all bridesmaids have all grown up, and we would never pull this crap. Commenter. I bet Jess was never actually getting married this time. It was just a plot to ensure at least some of your friends didn't make your wedding. Oh, I suspect that as well. But since she's done it before, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went through with it. I'm assuming they were both trying to get divorced before the wedding and realized they wouldn't be able to in time. Because some stuff takes time and can't be erased in a jiffy. So they couldn't do it. I get the feeling this guy is either really stupid or just as crazy as she is, so at least they found each other,